phone traffic?
I've been doing this since 1970, and the technology advancement since 1970 is just startling. It was science fiction then. We had a kind of countermeasure sweep team for years. We spent a fortune on the right equipment to find every kind of bug there is, and it's getting dusty right now because the technology has changed so much. Let me share a situation we had in 2004. We had a client, family law attorney in Orange County, California, engage us to send her sweep team out because her client, she was representing in a divorce, knew absolutely for sure that her estranged husband was recording and monitoring her conversations and attorney-client conversations. So our team goes out there and we do a sweep in her office, in her home, and we could not find a wiretap or a bug. And they were getting a little concerned. They spent a lot of money sending us out there, and we were ineffective, and they knew absolutely for sure that the conversations were monitored. So finally, after talking to them for a while, we figured the only common denominator, this is 2004, was this lady's cell phone. Well, guess what? Her estranged husband was the IT manager for a big company out there, and he had all the latest technology. So that was what opened our eyes at that time at how easy it is to bug a cell phone. And in 2004, we found 3 different websites that sold the spyware. Last year, we lost count at over 550. It's a huge industry. I don't know if you've Googled cell phone bugging, tapping, spying, recording, but if you get a chance, do that because it'll really open your eyes as to what the technology is right now. There's several different ways that you can install spyware on a target phone. First of all, most of the spyware programs are less than $100. Back then it was $700 or $800, so the price has come down because of the sheer competition that's going on. The easiest way to do it is if you have physical access to the cell phone. It takes about 3 or 4 minutes. You have a cable from your smartphone to the target phone, downloads, it's all ready to go. Second is it can be done remotely, and there's several ways to do that. Depends on the different types of spyware programs and the type of target phone. The most common is send an email, and if the target clicks on the attachment, it installs it remotely. Or you send a photo, either by a text or email, and if they click on the photo, the spyware data is embedded in the photo. That's been around for a long time. It's called steganography. And the third one is, it's just been out for maybe a year and a half, and we bought a couple of them just to see how they worked, and actually they do. You can call the target phone, and if they answer, you have to engage them for 30 seconds or longer, and then the spyware will pair with the target phone. If they don't answer, you just get the voice message and you engage the voice message in for 30 seconds or longer, and it's stalled. I pulled a page from FlexiSpy. FlexiSpy has been around since 2005, and it's probably the most effective one that there is out there. And it's about I think it's $98 for a subscription to it. Actually, you can find some of them that'll do it for $25 initially, and then about $10 a month. Well, FlexiSpy, according to their literature, and actually we know it for sure, it allows the bad guy to listen anytime there's a conversation. And the way they're notified is when there's a conversation, either incoming or outgoing, it texts the bad guy, so the bad guy knows there's a conversation and can listen. The second thing it can do is that when the phone is off, it's in your pocket or your purse or laying on the desk there, they can remotely turn it on and hear the conversation. So if somebody's phone in here is bugged, they're listening to us right now. You get all the emails, all the text messages, all the photos, all the videos. You know where the target is through the GPS enabled. It's just extremely difficult to protect against something like that. All the websites guarantee that it's invisible. Nobody will ever be able to find it. And actually, there's only 2 private cell phone forensic labs in the country that do the examinations. We're one of them. There's another one in South Carolina. We've partnered with some professors at Purdue, their wireless cyber forensics department, which is, I'm told, is the best in the world. And they've given us ways to do this through different types of software programs. And if we find it, then we should, in most cases, be able to tell who the bad guy is through the text message number. Cell phones, we recommend anytime you have a client come in, have them leave their cell phone with a receptionist, or buy a Faraday bag. If you remember your physics in school, Faraday cage, it prevents any kind of a RF signal from entering or leaving. So you can buy those. You can just Google Faraday cage on the internet, and they're 20 or 30 bucks. And so if a client comes in, either have them leave it at the reception or put it in the Faraday bag. Because we've had investigations compromised before, because when we talked to our client, the bad guy was listening. Now, I'm assuming everybody here has cable TV, or if you have dish type TV or satellite TV, you're okay. But cable TV is very vulnerable. Anytime you've had a problem, you call the tech center, and they say, I can't get channel 13 or something like that. And they'll do a remote diagnostic, and they'll be able to tell in most cases what the problem is, and they can sometimes fix it remotely, or they have to send a technician out. Well, when they do that, there's an IP address assigned to everybody's cable, whether it's AT&T, UVerse, Comcast, Bright House, whatever. Well, if the bad guy can figure out what the IP address is, and sometimes they can spoof the service into giving them that, then there's a number of different types of software that's used for remote diagnostics, and the most common one is called Wireshark. And Wireshark basically can do everything through that IP address. Almost all computers have microphones. A lot of them have webcams. They can remotely turn both of those on and listen to conversations and view what's going on through the IP address. If you have VoIP, VoIP, telephone service, they can listen to that. And it's free. Wireshark is free. There's a professional version that you don't really need to spend 40 bucks on, but anybody can do that. So be careful of that. Offices. If you have a fax machine in your office, there's a way to bug a fax machine. It's a little device that you just plug into in between the telephone line and the unit, and it will store all the copies of the faxes, incoming or outgoing faxes. It also has a little microphone on there, so the bad guy can call it up, listen to conversations around the fax machine, also be able to get copies, download all the copies that have gone through there. Copiers. Copiers are very difficult now to protect because most of them have internal memory or a hard drive. So everything that's ever been scanned or copied on that copy machine is there. So you can also get a court order to observe that too, if that's significant. Almost everybody has a shredder. If you get online and you look for shredder bug, there's 3 companies, one in Israel, one in the Ukraine, and one in Taiwan that sells a shredder. The best one is Israel, believe me. And it looks exactly like the Fellows shredder that you'll buy at Office Depot. Well, guess what? They have 3 different models. Each model will store the copy that's being destroyed digitally with a scanner. And the scanner is very small, and it's right at the opening where you insert the document. The first one will record on an SD card up to 10,000 to 12,000 copies. So if you have access to the shredder, you just change the SD card and you got everything that's on there. The second one uses what's called carrier current transmission. The shredder is plugged into an outlet, and it digitally sends the document over the electrical power lines to a receiver somewhere else in the building. Could be a high-rise building somewhere on the same side of the transformer. And as you're shredding your document in your place, somewhere in that building, it's being printed out. So that's kind of scary. And the third one is the most expensive one, and it uses what's called burst transmitter. It stores the documents, and then you pull the bad guy pulls the car up out in the parking lot somewhere, sends a signal to it like a garage door opener, and it creates a burst transmission of all the documents to a receiver. So be careful of office shredders. Now, there's all kinds of cell phone bugs out there. Every cell phone can be a bug. You can turn the ringer off, you can set it on auto answer, and you can just call it, and you can listen to the conversations around it just like the spyware. Well, how many of you have a strip outlet in your home or your office? Probably everybody. You can get on the internet, you can buy one, they're about $1,200. It has a hidden cell phone built into it. It's voice activated or audio activated, so when it's asleep until it hears you come into your home or your office, and then it calls the bad guy, and the bad guy can then listen. We have found over 30 different appliances that plug into an outlet that have a cell phone bug built into them. All you do is set up an account with your carrier and get an unlimited program, and you can listen anytime you want to. If you want to give the target a gift, a birthday present or Christmas gift, give them a radar detector for their car. They plug it into the cigarette lighter adapter, and it's live. It actually works as a good radar detector. Well, guess what? It's got a cell phone in there. So the bad guy can turn it on anytime, or either that or have it set up so that when the car starts, it sends a pulse to it and then the cell phone calls the bad guy so they know you're in your car. Computer spyware, that's been around for a long time. The most common spywares you can get off the internet. They're less than $100. E-Blaster is probably one of the most common. Another one's called Spectre, and it will basically copy everything, keystrokes, all the emails, everything that's on your computer to a email address that you set up for yourself. Then there's the good old-fashioned bugs and wiretaps, and they're really not being used that much anymore because it's so simple to bug a cell phone, either directly or remotely. So, as I said before, we got $130,000 worth of sweep equipment. It's gathering dust because the first thing we look for is cell phone spyware. Now, we've had this cell phone and computer forensic lab for about 7 years, and we've learned a lot on what to look for. But if you want to be extremely careful with your client, have your client go to Walmart or Best Buys and buy a throwaway phone, a track phone. They're 10 or 15 bucks. You buy the prepaid minute cards. And so when you're having conversations with your client and you want to make sure the conversations are secure, have them use the throwaway phone. I mean, why not? All the criminals and terrorists and drug dealers, they're using the throwaway phones. And so, if you're really concerned about that, and then also tell them to go into another room where their cell phone is not around, or you can't turn off an iPhone. You can turn off an Android, but those are very, very scary. We also, something to note, you cannot delete anything on a smartphone. It's there forever. You may think it's deleted, but we have the extraction software where we can pull it out through evidentiary capabilities, and it's admissible. One other thing I might mention is that we do cell phone tower triangulation. I don't know how that might fit into your practice, but if you want to know where somebody was on a certain date 6 months ago, and you have justification, and you can get a court order issued, a carrier will be able to, they archive that information for about a year. One other thing I want to pass, maybe I can see this, I thought I might pass this around. This is the latest technology. This is an absolute state of the art. This is a guy's thumb, and that's a bug that's on his thumb. And it looks like a mosquito. The only thing that you can recognize in this thing is a little tiny battery. It's got a range of several hundred feet. It has a camera, video camera, which is streaming back live video. It has a microphone, and it has a DNA probe. And so if it lands on your sleeve, on your skin, it can actually get a DNA sample, and you can't even tell it's just picking up the piece of skin that is dead, arm dandruff, something like that. And we can't afford it. I'm sure our government can afford something like that. But if you'd like to, yeah, okay. After we get through, take a look at that. We had an interesting situation about a month ago. We had a client whose husband kept his cell phone with him all the time. The only time he didn't have his cell phone with him was when he took a shower. And he was very guarded. He was hiding all kinds of financial information, hiding information on his girlfriends and all the other things that he was doing. And so if she could have gotten the cell phone to our office, we could have extracted everything within a couple hours. So she was a very, very smart lady. She went to the cell phone store, bought one that was exactly the same, switched it with him when he was in the shower, and got it to our office. He couldn't figure out what was wrong with the phone. And by the time he left that day, she switched the phone back, and he never knew the difference. So there's some creative clients out there. Do we have enough time for Q&A?
Yeah, I got a couple questions for you, though. After hearing you talk about some of those things, I think it'd be interesting with the group. What's the cost, ballpark cost of cell phone now? We have a client that says, I think I'm being followed, I think I'm being tracked. What's the cost of that?
It's about $2,200. It takes us 8 days. We have to run through a series of software programs to find it. So it's extremely difficult to find.
And do you need the phone yourself, or do you make a clone of it and then have
we image the internal memory and then give the phone back.
Do you see people using the technique of having a kind of a dummy phone or a clone phone of somebody else's phone as a way of tracking and spying on them?
Yeah, that's common, yes.
Have you had a situation where a client has used